Well, with me is Cuba expert Dr. Helen Yaffe from the LSE, the London School of Economics. And Helen, I know you spend a lot of time living and working in Cuba. And if we talk first about the dissidents, there were arrests made just hours before Air Force One touched down. But how much do you think they represent the people of Cuba?
Well, this particular group, you focused on the ladies in white. They have been going on for several years, as you pointed out, and they have a weekly march. At this point, they can't really claim to represent civil society as such in Cuba. One of the controversial facts about the ladies in white is they actually receive payment for their activism.
From?
They receive payment through a number of different NGOs, some of which can be traced to the funding that the United States Congress approves every year for promoting what they call democracy programs, and the Cubans regard those recipients in Cuba who receive that money as being mercenaries. And the funding this year for 2016, despite the move towards re-establishment of relations and rapprochement, has actually increased. So in the last few years it was $20 million, and this year it's gone up to over $35 million.
And presumably that funding comes because it's felt by the NGOs or members of Congress that there are very few outlets in Cuba for frank and dissenting political opinion. Well, what do you say about Cuba today? How easy is it to dissent?
Yeah, I think there is a mythology that Cuba is a totalitarian regime in the sense that, you know, everyone has to think or dress or feel the same. And obviously the images we'll get from Obama will probably get a lot more of an insight into and a feel of Cuban society, and you'll see how flamboyant and individual it is. But I think, and there are, you know...
colourful is different to being able to express.
Okay, so there are interesting forums in which dissent, discussion, debate, negotiation can take place. So when Raúl took up the mantle from Fidel Castro in 2008, there was a national consultation or a national debate where more or less everything was put up for discussion and debate. And in a population of just over 11 million people, there were 9 million participants in these debates. And all of their comments were recorded anonymously. They were taken to a central place where they were grouped into different categories. And a draft document that had been proposed for the guidelines for the economic and social changes that we're seeing now was actually 68% of it was amended on the basis of what the Cubans themselves had to say. At that point, the government made it clear there were some non-negotiables, and those are the non-negotiables which, of course, the ladies in white are calling for, which is an end to the socialist system. So that is regarded as a non-negotiable.
Well, you know, we'll have to leave it there, although this in itself is a fascinating discussion about dissent or otherwise in Cuba. And Helen, I want to talk to you more about the economy and what President Obama is trying to get out of this visit, and we'll speak to you again later in the programme.